The dense forest was quiet, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the soft calls of distant birds. The trees, towering and ancient, swayed gently in the wind, their branches heavy with age. The air was thick with humidity, the undergrowth rich with a mosaic of green. It was a sanctuary remote, wild, and untouched. Here, animals roamed free, ruled by their instincts and the delicate balance of nature. But in this sanctuary, one creature stood apart, a solitary leopard. Her coat, a striking golden brown dotted with rosettes, blended seamlessly into the forest shadows. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, flickered between the dense foliage and the wide open spaces ahead. She moved with the grace of a shadow, her body low to the ground, every step deliberate, as if the forest itself whispered its secrets to her. The leopard's name was Nia, though no human knew it. She had spent years in this forest, silent and patient, a hunter with no equals. Her territory stretched for miles, no other predator dared challenge her dominance. Nia had survived countless threats, from thunderstorms that tore through the forest to the relentless predators that prowled her domain. But now, something had changed. The atmosphere in the forest had shifted in the last few days. The winds carried a strange scent, one of unfamiliar predators, something unlike anything Nia had encountered. And she wasn't the only one who noticed. Even the birds seemed to have grown quieter, their songs replaced by soft chirps of alarm. Nia's keen senses sharpened as she crouched low near the edge of a clearing. Her eyes scanned the horizon, ears flicking at every subtle noise. Their movement, the leaves trembled, then stilled. Was it a prey animal? No. Too cautious. A predator. The soft thud of paws against earth confirmed her suspicion. A pack of African wild dogs. They were prowling through her territory. Their scent was unmistakable, carried by the shifting breeze. Nia's muscles tensed. Wild dogs, small but ruthless, had a unique advantage: their coordination and intelligence. They hunted in packs, wearing down their prey with endless stamina and strategy. This was no lone wolf. This was a well-organized threat, and they were trespassing in Nia's domain. Nia's body tensed, her golden eyes narrowing as the dogs' shapes emerged from the underbrush. Dark figures moving in unison, their sleek bodies weaving through the trees. They were close now, not far from her hiding place. Her breathing slowed. She needed to remain still, to wait. Time seemed to stretch as the wild dogs passed within mere feet of Nia's crouch. Their scent, earthy and wild, flooded her senses. Their movements were fluid, synchronized, like a well-rehearsed dance. Nia's heart raced, but she remained motionless, the tension building with every second that ticked by. One of the wild dogs paused, sniffing the air. Nia froze, holding her breath. The wild dog's gaze scanned the area, its nose twitching as it picked up on something amiss. It was close enough now for Nia to see the sharp intelligence in its eyes, but it didn't see her. With a final glance, the wild dog turned and continued with the pack. Relief flooded Nia's chest, but it was fleeting. The pack wasn't leaving. Instead, they had begun circling, their movements tight, calculating. They had already spotted her territory, and they weren't just passing through, they were planning something. The forest felt heavier now, the air thick with impending danger. Nia needed to act, and quickly. She couldn't let them get too close to her den. Her instincts screamed at her to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. This was her land, and she would defend it. She made a decision. She would make her move when they drew closer, using the element of surprise to her advantage. Her tail flicked nervously as she waited. The pack was still circling, their pace slow. But there was something unsettling in their movements, something different from what she had expected. The wild dogs didn't seem focused on hunting anymore. They weren't looking for prey. They were hunting her. A sudden, sharp cry pierced the air. One of the wild dogs yelped in pain. A brief moment of chaos erupted as the pack spun around, their eyes wide in confusion and panic. And then Nia understood. In the distance, a figure emerged from the shadows, a leopard, her coat darkened with age and scars. It was an older female, one who had lived through years of hardship, and it was clear she was seeking revenge. This was no ordinary leopard. She was a mother, a protector. Her cubs had been killed by wild dogs long ago, and now she had come back to seek vengeance. Nia's muscles coiled, prepared to pounce. This was her chance. But there was a twist she hadn't anticipated. The pack of wild dogs, sensing the tension, hesitated. They were unsure whether to turn on her or focus on the older leopard, whose presence shifted the dynamics of the hunt. The moment was fragile, a single spark away from igniting chaos. As the wild dogs closed in, Nia's instincts pushed her forward. She pounced, a blur of golden fur and precision. But the moment she leaped, a massive form from the wild dog pack collided with her side, knocking her off course. Nia's body crashed to the ground, her claws scraping against the earth. The wild dog had anticipated her move, an unexpected twist in the battle for dominance. But then, in a flash of motion, the older leopard struck. The pack scattered, and the wild dogs were caught between two leopards each. The sudden clash of predators was deafening, a violent ballet of claws and teeth. In the chaos, Nia saw an opening. With a single, powerful bound, she broke free and dashed into the forest, her heart pounding in her chest. For a moment, Nia paused, her breath shallow, listening to the sounds of battle fade behind her. The older leopard had caused enough disruption. The wild dogs would retreat for now, but the balance of the forest had been shaken. Nia had won this battle, but she knew it was only a matter of time before the pack would return. The tension would never truly dissipate. In the aftermath, Nia sat perched high in a tree, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. The forest, once again, was silent and settlingly so. The hunt for dominance, for survival, would never end in this world of shadows and whispers. And yet for Nia there was no choice. She was the leopard, and she would fight, not just for her land, but for her life. The forest had spoken, and its message was clear. The rules of the wild were shifting, and Nia would need to adapt, or risk losing everything she had fought for. In the distance, the soft rustling of leaves hinted at movement. Nia's golden eyes flickered once more, watching. Her dilemma had only just begun. The forest remained still, but Nia could feel the tension like an invisible current running beneath the canopy. Her muscles, though relaxed now, were still coiled in anticipation. The air, thick with humidity, some made heavier than before, laden with the promise of something yet to come. Nia's gaze drifted toward the clearing where the battle had just unfolded. The older leopard, having fought with unmatched ferocity, now disappeared back into the shadows, her form blending seamlessly with the darkened underbrush. Nia wasn't sure if she had won the older leopard's respect, or if she had simply been a means to an end. Either way, the wild dogs had been driven away for now, and the forest was hers again, at least for the moment. But Nia could feel that something had changed. The hunt was no longer just about survival. It had become a game of territory, of power. The wild dogs weren't simply wandering into her domain anymore. They were encroaching. The older leopard wasn't here by chance. She had come for revenge, but what else could be lurking in the shadows of this vast forest? The wind picked up again, rustling the leaves and sending a shiver down Nia's spine. She crouched low, every instinct alert, as the sounds of the forest began to shift around her. The familiar calls of birds were replaced by an eerie silence, interrupted only by the faint sound of distant movement. Nia's ears flicked in the direction of the noise, but there was nothing visible, just shadows in the distance. The forest seemed to breathe with her, pulsing with the rhythms of life, yet tonight it felt wrong. The unsettling quiet that had followed the skirmish with the wild dogs now felt like the calm before a storm. Nia padded cautiously along the tree line, moving with the stealth only a predator like her could possess. Every step was calculated, her paws barely making a sound on the damp earth. Her eyes darted from shadow to shadow, her senses straining to pick up any hint of danger. Suddenly, there was a sharp rustle behind her, a sound too quick, too precise to be the wind. Nia spun, her muscles tensing in preparation for an attack. But when she whirled around, there was nothing there. Only the faint echoes of the disturbed underbrush. The feeling of unease crept up her spine, and she realized the forest had become unnervingly silent once again. The usual rhythm of the jungle, the chirping of crickets, the distant calls of nocturnal animals was absent. It was as if the entire world was holding its breath. Nia's instincts screamed at her to move, to leave the area before whatever was stalking her made itself known. But before she could take a step, she felt a subtle shift in the air, a presence that she couldn't place. It wasn't the scent of the wild dogs, nor the lingering trace of the older leopard. This scent was darker, more ominous. Her fur bristled, her body instinctively froze. A faint glow appeared through the trees, a dim, almost ethereal light that seemed out of place in the darkened forest. Nia's heart raced as she slowly moved toward it, her eyes narrowing in cautious curiosity. The light was growing stronger now, illuminating the forest floor in a strange, unnatural glow. Nia stepped closer, each movement slow and deliberate. She was now within the radius of the light, the strange sensation of something ancient and unsettling filling her senses. And then, through the gaps in the foliage, she saw it. A figure. It was larger than any predator she had ever encountered. Its shape blurry at first, like something out of a dream. The creature's outline shimmered, its presence unnatural in the otherwise earthy realm of the forest. Its form was vaguely feline, with glowing amber eyes that pierced the darkness like twin suns. Its coat shimmered in patterns that resembled the stars themselves, dark and vast. The creature seemed to float just above the ground, barely disturbing the earth beneath it. Nia's fur stood on end, her mind grappling with the sight before her. It was not a leopard, nor any creature she knew. This being, whatever it was, exuded power, an ancient force that seemed to transcend the natural order. And though it did not move, the air around it seemed to hum with energy, as though the forest itself was reacting to its presence. For a long moment, Nia stood motionless, unsure of what to do. Her instincts warned her to run, to flee from this anomaly, but her legs wouldn't budge. She was caught between fear and awe, the predator in her mind unable to reconcile this new force with anything she had ever encountered. And then, without warning, the creature began to move. Its form shifted, melding with the surrounding shadows, gliding effortlessly through the trees, its body merging with the night. Nia instinctively crouched lower, her gaze fixed on the space where the figure had been. She could feel the weight of its presence, even in its absence, a sensation like a storm gathering on the horizon.